wrote this piece, Heartbreak, we could all write a book just about the heartbreak piece of this. And I think for us, you know, as primary caregivers and those of us who are sufferers, as Dr. Taylor said, I think it's immensely hard. And if you look at the picture on the left there's my mom and her non-assisted living retirement place where she thought she'd be at forever. She not only took Tai Chi and other exercise classes a couple of times a week, she also began to teach Tai Chi. So my first clue that something was wrong was the very first time she missed Tai Chi. My mother was the kind of person that she wouldn't even go to lunch or go out or do anything on Tai Chi day because she was afraid that there'd be traffic and she wouldn't get back home in time for the class. So that was the first clue. I called her and I said, oh, how was Tai Chi today? Silence. And then she says, I must have been so busy I forgot to go, but you could hear in her voice, wow, was it really Tai Chi day? So that was a clue, but Loretta, you know, Loretta talks all the time, so Loretta just kept going like everything was fine. But I did have an aha moment like, wonder what that was about, and I just figured she was busy and kind of wrote that off, but that was truly my first sign. And then one of the things I learned from the Alzheimer's Association is that how dementia typically works is that you go along fine for a while and then there's some traumatic event of some sort and then you take this what they call a stepwise decline. I had not heard that term before. And so they take this sharp decline. Then they stay for a while on that plateau and then something else may happen and they go sharply downward again. That picture in the middle, that's my Aunt Franny, my mom in the middle, and my Aunt Diane, who was 19 years younger than my mom. Not sure what my grandmother was thinking, but okay. And so my mother's the oldest, and my Aunt Diane got colon cancer at 59 and died 6 months later. My mother never recovered from that. We were in maybe, it was 2006, so we were maybe almost in year 2 or so. So that was her first sharp decline. And when I say she went from 0 to kind of 40, that was shocking. And so, like I said, I had not heard that term, but she never actually came out from that. She started to forget a lot more things. She couldn't put days together, and it was almost like overnight. And so one of the things the neurologist said was that that was her first kind of downward trend, but didn't use that term. So that's how I figured that out as well. And then that last picture on the right, I only had one sibling, and we didn't have the best of relationship, primarily because of the situation with my father. My sister was 10 when I was born, so imagine a new baby coming and then your father leaving. So my sister hated me for most of my life because she believed if you're 10, switch places with her, if you're 10 and you think all is well and your father leaves, her opinion of me was send her back. And of course, you can't send me back, but there I was. So we spent a lot of our life not really getting along all that well, not only the age difference, but sort of how she felt about the family situation as well. But thankfully, we got to be greater friends later on. But as I said, we always joked about the fact that I would be the one to care for my mom. That picture there, why are we wearing those really stupid hats and have the big balloons and all that? We did that because we knew that that would be my sister's last birthday. She was 60 in that picture, and you can't really tell from that picture, but she had MS. And when you get MS in your 50s, it goes really quickly. So my sister went from a cane to a walker to a hospital bed, all that kind of stuff, in a couple years or so. She only lived 3.5 years, and she died about 2 months after that picture was taken. The beautiful piece of that, if there is any beauty about dementia, it is, but by the time my sister died in 2011, my mother had forgotten she had 2 kids. So I never told her that my sister died. So people go, oh my God, what do you mean you didn't tell her? Well, what is she going to do with that information? That'd be another one of those cases where you want them to forget something, then they wouldn't. And then she'd cry all the time. So people say, well, what are you going to do if she ever asks you about it? Well, I'm gonna cross that bridge if I get to it, and I don't think I will. And so a lot of these decisions we have to make is what is best for them right now. And not worry about, oh my God, if she asks me, next month, what am I gonna do? Not gonna stress over that today. There are pictures up of my sister and my niece and all of us in my mom's room. Not a clue who my sister is. And I think one of the reasons is because I couldn't take care of my mother and my sister lost her sight first. it came back, but that was one of the triggers that something really was wrong. And then she started to fall down a lot. And in my 20s, I had done that. And they actually had said to me at one point, they thought I had MS. Turns out I was just clumsy. And then she was the one that ended up getting just really interested. Never, ever saw that coming. So a scary thing, because now I really am alone. So since the summer of 2011, aside from my Aunt Franny, I was alone. And then Aunt Franny died last year. Oh boy. So now it's just me. Thank God I have the most amazing husband in all of this world, and a really, really cool stepdaughter too, which you'll meet. And so the heartbreak piece, crazy, from a personal standpoint, then you have to deal with all the rest of the stuff. This is one of my favorite charts, and some of the behavioral changes, I think those are the things that get us the most. Those are the things that keep us up at night and, really make it difficult sometimes for us to manage. Really cool things. I've learned a lot from that chart, which came from one of the Alzheimer's Association books. But I have learned that if I want her behavior to be somewhat stable and something that I can really manage on a day-to-day basis, so to speak, I have to deal with all these things. So in terms of inability to communicate, you can hear how fast I talk. My mother doesn't process that fast, so I am careful that when I talk to her, I am choosing my words very, very carefully, or I get way out in front of her and she can't deal with that well. And so it's really about learning to read the signs for me. And then my mom lives in the group home, and one of the folks at the group home, whenever he couldn't find the right words, especially if he was trying to talk something about pain, when he couldn't find the words, he would just punch the primary caregivers. And then they were like, why is he doing that? He was the most gentle man in the world. As it turns out, anytime he punched them, there was something wrong. Then they went to look for the cause. So those two things very tied together. And one of the things I've had to learn to do is to let go of some of the things we used to do in the past, because the past is gone. And so that whole thing about being in unfamiliar surroundings. There are a very limited number of places I will take my mom at this point, because she gets very excited about new things, and not in a good way. And too much confusion or loud noises, all that kind of thing really bothers her. So for example, my husband is number 7 of 8 kids. So people always say, oh, is your mom coming over for dinner for Thanksgiving or Christmas? No. They would drive my mother absolutely crazy. Everybody talks loud, and they all talking at the same time, and she can't do more than one thing. So that would drive her crazy. We tried doing it. We tried holding on to family traditions, but who was that about? That becomes about me and not about them. So I really learned some expensive lessons about trying to let go of these traditions that we used to do, but that's not helpful for her. And then it just became heartbreaking for me. So some of the behavioral things I had to get a much better grip on if we were going to survive all of these kinds of things. So I thought that was good. So I take her to some of the things that she knows well. She loves to walk. She just turned 86. And she could probably outrun most of us in this room. There's not one thing wrong with her except the dementia. No high blood pressure, no cholesterol, no diabetes, nothing. No cane, no arthritis, nothing. Just that. So if you looked at her, you're like, wow, she looks so normal. Yes, she does. And she certainly couldn't answer questions or any of those kinds of things that the doctor was doing. Like, wow, that was impressive watching him. He could answer a question, he could do. My mother can't do anything close to that. She could outrun us, and she's like a 2-year-old. So if you're not watching her every second, then woo, where'd she go? It's unbelievable, really, really cool in some ways, and really scary in others. So this is a really cool chart for me.